Hi guys, how are you doing? I don't think I've ever gone live on my YouTube channel, and I'm actually going live here on Instagram too here shortly at the same time. So if you have any questions, you want to hop on over to my Instagram and you can ask them there. All right. So give me a second, guys, as I set up. Okay, so guys, immigration. All right, so guys, again, my name is Attorney Wafula, otherwise known as Val Queen. Hey guys, it's Wednesday night. It's actually storming here. I don't know what your weather is looking like over there. Hopefully your weather is looking better, but it's really raining heavily. But anyway, I prefer that than snow. Hi guys, how are you doing? Attorney Wafula here, and I just want to discuss VAWA really today, and discuss some common questions I get asked in consultations. So today I had consultations, and one question that I wanted to bring out from the consultations from today, I had someone who had had a case pending for a couple of years, adjustment of status to marriage, and was asking me he always feared switching over to VAWA because he felt then they would think that it's kind of intentional, like you plan this out, like maybe since your adjustment of status through marriage case didn't work, now you want to do VAWA. And I told him no, not at all. I told him actually a lot of times people overthink these things. The question is, do you qualify? Like if you qualify, you qualify. If you don't, you don't. So the real question is, do you qualify for VAWA? And if you do, then you should apply. So it doesn't matter. I always say this. You qualify for a VAWA at any time. You qualify for VAWA if you've been denied for an adjustment of status through marriage. Okay? As long as you qualify, as long as you experience serious issues at the hand of your U.S. citizen or green card holder spouse, you qualify. You could qualify for VAWA while in deportation proceedings, right? You could qualify for VAWA even after immigration puts you in deportation proceedings. You could qualify for VAWA even after, like even before right before you get deported, you qualify. Like, so as long as you qualify, you should file. And so that brings me now to my next point. So how do you qualify for VAWA? You qualify for VAWA if and when you're married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder spouse who abuses you, threatens you, beats you up, tells you things like, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't be here. Who would marry you if it weren't for me? No one would ever marry you if I leave you. If you're married to someone or were married to someone who would cheat on you multiple times with multiple people, expose you to an STD, maybe gave you an STD. If you're married to someone who refuses to work or would refuse to work for months, for more than a year, make you do all the work, and then would still, expect you to come home and do all the work, these are some of the things that would qualify you for VAWA. Okay, and there's really a long list, and there's many things that could qualify you for VAWA, but in a nutshell, you qualify for VAWA if your spouse emotionally puts you down or psychologically. Okay, for men, you could qualify for VAWA because your spouse withholds sex from you, yet gives it to another. That's abusive, right? So a person has a right to choose whether they want to have sex with you or not. But if it's for a long time, more than 6 months, more than a year, and your spouse during this 6 months or a year of not giving it to you is giving it to someone else, that's arguably abusive. We're talking about things like there's so many. A spouse calling the police on you, claiming you raped the spouse, you raped them when you didn't. These are all examples of what could qualify you for VAWA. So there's a long list, a long plethora of things that could qualify you for VAWA. But basically, the way if you're being abused is if your spouse puts you down intentionally and puts you down to keep you from if your spouse has made it clear they never want to see you advancing in life, never want to see you go to school, never want to see you take on any job training, never want to see you just get better as a person, period. Forget even about immigration. They just don't want to see you get better. Secondly, if they use your immigration status against you, then you could possibly have a good vow case. Okay, and I've already told you guys before, and I'll say it again, you know, vow even extends to people who are not legally married. So in some states, if you're not legally married to someone, but you know, you live in a state such as Alabama, Texas, Colorado, New Hampshire, South Carolina, there's a few states in America that recognize a partnership just as if it was a married, right? So just as if it was a marriage. So these are states like, again, Alabama, New Hampshire, Colorado, South Carolina, Texas. So if you know someone who's with their longtime partner who abuses them and they live in one of these states that I've said, you should tell the person to call me, schedule a consultation. It just may be that I may be able to get them a 10-year green card through VAWA, even though they're not legally married. So guys, VAWA extends to so many people. It actually even also extends even to a parent. A parent can claim VAWA based on an abusive child, right? Or an abusive adult child. So you know how the classic situation this comes up is if you bring your parent from Africa to help you take care of your children, you and your spouse, and then you and your spouse abuse your parent could file a VAWA case against you. So don't be abusive hopefully against your parent, but it happens. And the typical example this happens in is when you or your spouse has a drug or alcohol problem, you know, that it could kind of impair your ability to reason things properly, and could impair your ability to treat your elderly parent right. Okay, all right. So guys, this in general is who would qualify for VAWA. Another big thing I always look for is a situation where in a conversation where someone tells me they're on meds. So if you've never been on meds before, but now you're on depression meds, you're on psych meds, you're on mood altering meds, and maybe before you were like the happiest person, your personality, your temperament was even killed, but now you having to get on depression meds, on mood altering meds, or maybe you having to see a therapist when before you never had to see one. Maybe you're having to see a psychologist now. You never had to see a psychologist before. Guys, that's usually a big sign that we have a great VAWA case. All right. The other thing I always like to explain is that, so that's for the person who doesn't have anything, doesn't have a green card at all. Occasionally we have cases where someone already has a 2-year green card, but their spouse has since become abusive. And so for that kind of person, we file a different type of VAWA. Okay? Sorry guys, that was a storm thing that came up on my phone. So for the person who has a 2-year conditional green card already through their spouse, and since that time their spouse has since become very abusive, for that person we could file to remove their conditions based on abuse, based on VAWA. So there is such a thing as being able to remove conditions for someone based on VAWA. Okay? And so again, this is for someone who already has a 2-year conditional become abusive. So for that person, we can file a removal conditions application based on VAWA, and we can file it early. So typically when you've been given a 2-year conditional green card, they say at the end of these 2 years, this is when you can file an application to remove conditions. But the exception to the rule is VAWA. So in other words, if you are in an abusive situation, they don't want you sitting there waiting before you can file for that. So if you're in an abusive situation, they will let you file a removal conditions application early, again based on VAWA. All right, so these are some examples, some people I can help. All right guys, I've talked enough. I've given you a background of who may not qualify, and some questions I normally get. Do we have any questions today? Do you have any questions for me on today? And I guess what I mean is, is anyone willing to come up and ask their questions live. Okay, because if not, I will consider that I've done my job for today, or I've talked with you guys for the day, and I'll be done, and I'll go my way. Would you mind? I see people asking questions. Do you mind request come live so I can ask them? You know, my typical preference is to ask these or to answer these questions live. Someone at the door. Okay, so I'm gonna answer one, and then if no one is coming up live, I'll just go off and we'll come another day when people are willing to come up. All right. Someone's asking me how long it takes for work permit. It depends, and again, anything about time periods I never discuss on a live video. All I can say about work permits is that right now, generally speaking, they're taking longer than they used to. So if you want to have more specific advice on that, please call my office, 901-306-7123. 901-306-7123. Schedule a consultation. We can go from there. Someone says it's been a file for a vow for 5 months. It's been over 5 months. Haven't got a prima facie. Is it normal? So it depends. I always say, even in my consultations, that usually we do our job to get our things early and on time, but it's really up to immigration when to issue things. So the fact that you haven't got a prima facie in 5 months doesn't necessarily mean anything went wrong in your case. It just means maybe immigration hasn't issued it. Okay, so usually there's a way you could write them and ask them what's going on and ask them to expedite the prima facie for you. All right, guys. As it's about to be 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock Maryland time, and I'm about to jump over to MC Chaz Live. So if you want to catch that, I usually go on at least for the next 2 Wednesdays. I think I'll be on his live. So if you want to jump on over to MC Chaz Live, you can catch me there. I'll be answering some questions. All right, guys. Nobody wants to come up live, so I'll take it as my cue. Bye-bye, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.